Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Funding Flip Side. I'm Barb Dunn, and I'm here with Nikki Sasser and Keola.
Hello.
So let's get started. So Keola, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this, and more specifically, how you got into transactional funding.
Yeah, you bet. First off, thank you, ladies, so very much, Barb and Nikki, for having me on your guys' podcast. And it's such a pleasure to be with you, both major action takers, but more importantly than that, both of you guys are such amazing go-givers. And so I'm just grateful for this space to have and chat with you guys. I'm originally from Hawaii, born and raised from the island of Maui. I moved to what we call the mainland, right, to Utah about 25 years ago. Met a wonderful lady here from Utah. That's why I gave up the sweet sounds of the ocean for the snow-topped mountains. But it was a good sacrifice to be with her, and we have 3 boys. Originally, I was in the fitness space. I spent 25 years in the fitness space, helping to run and operate gyms throughout Utah and other states in the Midwest. After 25 years and helping that company grow from 2 locations to 55 locations, I decided to exit and pivot from the fitness space and got into real estate. And that was, a little over a year and a half ago. And when I first joined, I joined Pace Morby's Gator community because investing really interests me. And I wanted to kind of learn more about real estate and lending. And so when I first joined the community, I dove in head first, like so many others watching Pace's videos. I was just mesmerized, right? It was like a bug to the light. I was just drawn to it and I couldn't turn away. And I just kind of went head first. And I started lending on private money deals, typically anywhere from 8 months or less, and just started pulling the trigger. And for me, it was really important to team up with the right people and to do deals with people that I felt were doing big things to learn and grow with them, right? And I was grateful to have a lot of people bring me under their wings and teach me. And so that's kind of like what brought me into the space and where I started with private money lending.
Nice.
That's awesome. What a great experience. What a great ride, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great, right?
Yeah. So what exactly switched over in your mind, or what was the moment or turning point that you decided, oh, private money lending, I'm going to go over here now to transactional lending?
Yeah. And so in the big umbrella of things, it's all incorporated, right? Like it's all private money lending. However, it was about October of last year, and I might have been at right around 25 deals that I personally funded. And at that time, I had maybe 9 deals deployed, right? And all my money out, like 9 deals deployed. And out of those 9 deals, 4 of them at this time were late. And in this, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this. Like, is this the way I want to continue to operate and continue to focus? And 4 deals were late. It was, right around November. So elections was coming up. It was right before the end of the year. It's like, oh my gosh, year's ending, new year starting. And so I had all of these questions and concerns. Like, where's the landscape of real estate going? And what is that going to look like in 2025? And I really was reevaluating how I was operating and what I was lending on. And just happens at that same week, I interviewed a gentleman on a different podcast. And he, as we were talking, got an alert, looked at it, had this big smile on his face. And when we got off the recording, I was like, what was that? It looks like something happy happened, something crazy. Like, oh yeah, I just realized that I just did 6 figures in transactional lending this month. And I was like, come on, you got to be kidding me. He's like, no, that the alert just let me know that I just broke 6 figures. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing and how are you doing it? And he says, Keola, to be honest with you, do you do transactional funding? I was like, of course I do. Don't we all? And he was like, no, we don't all do it. And I promise you that people don't know that you do. And I said, no, you got to be crazy. Everybody knows I do lending. Everybody. He's like, yeah, they know you lend, but do they know that you transactional fund deals? And he gave me a challenge, Barb, and Nick, you'll laugh at this. He said, I challenge you to call the last 10 people that you did loans with and ask them if they know that you do transactional funding.
Wow.
Of course, I'll call them. So I called the 10 people, and you'll be shocked. Guess what number you think came back, said they knew.
A goose egg.
Luckily, it wasn't 0.
Oh, it
Luckily, it wasn't. It was 2.
wasn't.
But even the 2 that said, like, oh, we assumed you did. We felt like you did. It wasn't oh, yeah, we know you do that. Right? So
Wow.
in reality, it was a goose egg, right, Barb? It was a goose egg. And I was so surprised. And so I reached back out to him. I says, you know what? I made those 10 calls like you challenged me. And 0 people really knew that I want to focus on this. And so, with that kind of realization and kind of the understanding of where my money was currently deployed, challenges with lens currently out, right, for late and pending, I kind of sat down and said, okay, how do I want to pivot? And after this exercise and after this realization, I also kind of looked back and said to myself, okay, well, what originally attracted me into the Gator program? And it was this thought that, oh, I could do EMD. Yeah, let me jump in and do EMD. But like so many others who are new to the space, they're not as readily available, right? And what you see everywhere is a ton of PML deals. And so like so many others, I quickly pivoted because I couldn't sit idle and just started picking the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit at that time was PML deals. And I just walked on that path. But now I said, all right, here we are, November, December. I'm going to learn more about transactional funding. I'm going to put more time into it. And I'm going to develop my backend system and pivot. And so I did that for all of December. And then in January is really when I started to be a little bit more vocal and forward-facing on transactional funding and started going after it. And so that was kind of what led me to that pivot was, deals weren't paying off on time. Fix and flipping was all getting delayed. A lot of people were taking longer. I had these pending deals, and I just had somebody kind of slap me in the face saying, you could do this if people knew about it and if you focused.
Wow, that's a great story. And, I'll speak for myself. I'm in some deals now too where they're coming in, they're late. And I think that's why Nikki and I started transitioning or pivoting into transactional funding, because same thing, having more control over my funds. And that's why I did it in the first place, because it sure was attractive. These 4 and 6 month deals, of course, make that percentage in that amount of time. Who wouldn't? But nobody ever really talked about how they all get delayed. And I can't function that way. It's too stressful.
Yeah.
That's why we're pivoting. And gosh, we appreciate you helping us so much. It's just so nice to be able to call you up and say, could you help us? Look at this for us. And you're so gracious. It's very, very nice.
Well, I feel like if people are willing to do that for me, then I owe it to others, right? Like I have to. Like, why wouldn't I?
Well, that's why we got into this, right? The deal was you sign up, you're going to give back. That's just part of the bargain, and that's fine with me. I will always go giver. We all are.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I think that Keola, you hit it right on the head when you said, I'm in this. I'm here to give, and you are a go giver, and you're very well known in the community because you spread a lot of light and love and kindness, and everyone knows you because of what you do. And we are grateful for you. And I know a lot of people out there are grateful to you as well. I love that you had the thought come to your mind, right? That was like, I need to pivot. And how many people really realize that they need to pivot? I remember Pace saying when I joined Sub 2 a couple years back, he said, be in something for 6 months. And if it just doesn't feel right, then do that pivot, right? Go to something else, right? And there's so many avenues in the real estate world that you at least recognized, I need to change lanes. I need to get into a different lane. And I'm grateful for your knowledge that you brought to the table in so many ways. Along that, you've learned a lot of life lessons, I am sure, in this process, right? You have 3 boys. I know that you're teaching to be, self-sufficient entrepreneurs, right? And so tell me a little bit about those life lessons and how that looks with your family and also with your life lessons that you learned. And sorry, there's a cat in the background.
All good. I think two big things come to mind that I feel like I really want to share, right? Like, I live my life by 3 F's: faith, family, and food. And not always in that order, right? Like it changes around. Faith is a big component of my life, right? Glory to God and all that He gives us. Family is everything, as it should be for most people. And for me, food is just a way to capture. I'm Polynesian, and so for food, when we eat, we gather, right? We sit down, we talk, we mingle, we invite everybody, right? Everybody's over. It's a big luau. And so for me, food is really a way of connecting, right? So I love to live my life by faith, family, and connection. And, before I jumped into the real estate space, I was hustling and working hard and building up this company and just at the grind, like so many people are, right? Climbing the corporate ladder and just building up somebody else's dream. Like it was my dream too, but it was really somebody else's dream. And, my son at that time was a junior. And my wife tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, we've got 1 more year left with him. Something's got to change. You've been traveling every other week. You've been out of town for the last 6 to 7 years. Like, this is it. After this year, he's gone. Like, he's off. He's adulting, right? He's gone. Like I said, hopefully but he's gone." And she said, something's got to pivot. So we had a family council. We sat down, we talked about it, and we decided that, right now was the right time for me to pivot and change. And I wouldn't have made that decision to pivot if my wife didn't literally grab me by the neck and say, "Hey, slow down, take a look at what's going on. What's more important," right? Really prioritize what's most important. And so we made that first pivot. And so I share that story because sometimes we just get going. And if we don't reevaluate where our priorities are at, we start shooting for something that's not on those priorities because we get so accustomed to it. We're so used to it, right? And so I just challenge people to like always take a look at what are you trying to accomplish, and do your priorities align with that? Do your daily actions align with those priorities? Right? And so that's one big thing that kind of led me to this space and also helped me to reevaluate where I was at last November. The second thing, go ahead, Nikki, do you have?
No, you're good. I love what you're saying. Keep going, Keola. You're great.
Okay. The second thing is, in which I love about this community, is that, I think we're set up this way in life, right? Like God gave Eve to Adam, right? Like you don't have to go it alone, right? You should be going through life and business and relationships based on relationships with others, right? And you don't have to go it alone. And I like that because that's how we're designed as humans, right? We're designed to be around people and do things together. But I say that because, my son right now, he's at that driving age. He just turned 15. He got his permit. And so he's on the roads. He's driving, right? And a lot of us stepping into the real estate space, we're kind of like that kid with a permit. Like we know what we want to do. We've seen other people do it a lot. We've read books about it. We saw movies on it. We watch our parents drive. We watch our friends drive. But now the permit's in our hand, right? And now we're kind of ready to drive the car too. And in the community and with others, you don't have to go it alone, right? You can get support, you can get help. You can have a driver's education teacher literally sit in the passenger seat with you and teach you how to drive and be there to steer the wheel, be there to hit their emergency brake when needed to ensure that you're still driving, but you don't get into a major accident. And in this community and teaming up with others, that's so paramount to success. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of people be my driver's education teacher, on deals. And the first 12 deals I did, I had a driver's education teacher teach me all the way. And so I say that because that's exactly what is provided within the community, especially when you reach out to people like the two of you, right? Barb and Nikki, you guys are driver's education teachers as professional experts to so many others in the community as you help them, whether it's on their first deal or on multiple deals, you help them go through the whole process and guide them along the way, still giving them the freedom to take the driver's seat and be behind the wheel.
You know, Keola, when you were saying that, I went back to, driver's ed with my children and also myself. I remember I had a driver's ed teacher that's had to literally slam on the brakes to save me, right? To protect me. And I think sometimes we have to slam on the brakes where we're headed in real estate. And somebody needs to say, hey, you're not doing this right, or direct us right, or maybe just kind of console us and say, hey, I'm here for you like you've been for us, and just kind of give us direction, right? So I love that analogy. If there was somebody starting out brand new, what advice would you give them, or what suggestions would you give them? You've kind of given that a little bit just recently, just in your story, but what's a couple words maybe you would say to them?
Yeah, if somebody's starting out brand new, like if I was to start today, the one thing that I would do different, and this might shock you guys, but I'll share it anyways. The one thing I would do different is I would network more. When I first joined the community, I really took the first 2 months to really consume content and educate myself. And I was on live Zooms, but I had my camera off. I didn't have my name for people to see me. I was probably that Zoom user on my iPhone. I was that person, and I would just listen in, and I really wouldn't participate. I really felt like I wasn't at a level or confident enough to be able to even turn on my camera and say something.
That's fascinating. I wouldn't have thought that. Keep going. This is great.
Yeah. Right, Barb? Like, now you can't get me to shut up. Like, now people want to turn off my camera. Now they want to mute me,
Oh, no, they don't.
And so it's so different, but I wish I would have done that sooner, right? And understand that everybody starts somewhere, and that's okay, right? It's okay to turn on, to ask questions, be inquisitive, and to reach out with people because, I didn't fully understand and fully trust that the community here that we're a part of is really that. It really is a community of people wanting to help. And it's because, I was so conditioned to how people were outside of this community. What was the norm? And so I expected that norm and operated with those preconceived norms.
Yes. Yeah. That's so key right there, isn't it? Yes, that's everything.
Wow. It is. It's like a family, right? For me, I've made more friends in this community than I have my entire life. I mean, I have some great friends outside of this community, but there are some that have helped me elevate up and helped me lift, others up as well and given direction. And so I agree with you 100%. That's phenomenal.
Wow. So next, go ahead.
Mark.
No, yeah, you finish, please. I love this.
I was just going to say to that point, right? Like if we're not, we have to like believe in ourselves and realize that we each bring value, right? First and foremost, everybody brings value to the table. And believe in yourself. And the second thing is don't be afraid to open your mouth and network with people or reach out because, we hear Pace say it all the time, right? Somebody else in the room or in the community is holding the treasure map to your treasure. And you'll never know unless you actually open up and say something.
Right.
That is so very true, right? And you hit the nail on the head when you said networking. I had somebody today ask me, Nikki, how have you done it? And I said, networking. And they're like, really? I'm like, it's all in the communication with other people and building that strong relationship, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it's at. And Keola, you're a firm example of that, like how you are with your Zooms. And for those out there, like if you don't know, Keola's Zooms, get in there in the Gator community and find it, right? You do a great job with that. And for those that are wanting to connect with you or reach out to you, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way is on Instagram. Instagram is my main source of social media that I use as my main platform. And so it's Keola_Keala on Instagram.
That's
Great.
perfect. Thank you. Barbie, you have another question for Keola as well?
No, I just, no, I just think you're just so funny. It's just, I just can't believe that you were that quiet in all those Zooms. I just, wow.
Well, Barb, you'll love this one. Like, so Nikki may know this story, right? So when I first joined the community, there was a meetup that like I saw like, all right, maybe I should go to a meetup. And the meetup was up in Salt Lake, so like 45 minutes away from me. And it was my first ever meetup, right? Real estate meetup. And so I drove up there to the meetup, parked in the parking lot, and I sat in my car talking to myself for 30 minutes. Like, okay, you drove all this way, you should go inside. Oh no, like, yeah, but this isn't my world. Like, I'm a fitness guy. I don't know anything about real estate. Like, maybe I should just leave. No, like, God, you hear it all the time. People meet great people at meetups. And I was like, and so I sat there really like fighting with myself. Should I even get out of the car? And that was my first meetup. And luckily I did step out of the car and I met some great people at that first meetup, and people that I actually do deals with today from that first meetup that never would have happened if I didn't overcome my own personal issues and challenges of my own self-worth.
Yeah.
And Keola, I love that you were normal, because I have
Yes.
and I know a lot of people have. So you're kind of speaking to a lot of people who experience that fear of, I don't know anything about real estate. I don't want to get out of this car. I don't want to go and do this. Right. But I remember having conversations with you last year in the beginning of January, and just kind of having some conversations. We were kind of both new at what we were doing.
Yeah.
Right. We've come a long way, and it's been so fun to watch you grow and to learn. Where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so over the next 5 years, I see my lending business kind of more automated, just really with a better intake and flow, which is transactional funding. But I really am focused on helping socioeconomic disadvantaged people build their business in the federal space. And so I'm starting a new business there and going to be walking down that path to learn more and do more there.
Nice.
What a
Great.
great goal. What a great vision.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we just can't wait to see you more and more and more.
Like I said, I'm so grateful that you guys would open up your space to allow me to come on and chat with you two amazing ladies.
Yeah.
Right back
Well,
at you. You're amazing.
I know. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you really soon.
Keola,
All right.
it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you again. Have a great day. And thanks for your example in the community.
Yes.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye-bye.